Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through Benji at alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcast. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors, and like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Mark Katzman. Now, people sit back and strap in, man. We are discussing Mark's incredible novel. Now, it's called M7. First and foremost, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org. Man, there's a lot of places that are going to carry it. Most importantly, though, check out his personal website, markkatzman.net. There, you're going to gather more information on Mark, on this amazing book. But man, trust me when I tell you, Mark is an artist through and through. There's going to be a lot more you're going to be able to catch on his website. Not only his books, he has artist books, he has music, he has interviews. Man, I'm telling you, you want to figure out what this man is all about, head on over to markkatzman.net. And people, listen, man, it is an absolute pleasure to have Mark here on the line. Man, listen, get ready, okay? Have we got quite the show for you all today? Mark's novel, M7. How do I categorize it, man? It's part metaphysical thriller, part workplace comedy, and entirely unlike anything you've ever read before. All right, we're journeying to a library where the bookshelves, they breathe. The messengers, they don't walk, they glide, and overdue finds might just cost you your soul. I promise you, man, this is one you're not gonna be able to put down. This is one you're not gonna want to put down. Sit back, strap in, let's dive in. Mark, first and foremost, welcome to the network, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, man?
Hi, Benji, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Well, listen, man, Mark, we're very glad to have you on the network. I told you on the pre-screening call prior to this discussion, your book M7, man, it is different. Okay, my team and I, when we were preparing and discussing for this interview and preparing for it, we kept coming back to how it was. Man, it felt like an acid trip in literary form. All right, and I mean that in the highest praise because we are just like, it is a roller coaster of a ride. We are delighted to have you here, and I can't wait to learn more about it. Let's jump right in, Mark. Man, first and foremost, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, and then we'll move on to something else.
Well, I was born in St. Louis and raised in Kansas City. Really didn't start my creative life until I was around at 22. And so since that time, I've had a long path of different forms of writing, from novels to plays to screenplays to interviews to poetry. And so I like to explore different literary forms. I think M7 is the epitome of my pursuit of a novel that really completely contains a world of ideas and a lot of fun, and yes, psychedelic light clusters are in there. And of course, in the course of the book, there are many things which a couple of reviewers have mentioned that do defy logic and do not follow a strict path of a kind that you can generally you can see where it's going. You can see where it's going. I don't think that's the case in M7 because I discover as I write. So I don't know where it's going, and the reader will discover where it's going, and take it to themselves how to interpret that.
Okay, well, Mark, I'm really curious, man. I mean, you mentioned something that I think is very interesting. You mentioned how your artistic life didn't really begin until your early 20s, which, I mean, listen, it's not completely unheard of, although it is rare, right? I mean, especially in my experience, a lot of times when I have authors on the network, right? When I speak to them and I ask them about their individual journeys, about their inspiration, they go on tangents, man. And they tell me how a lot of times from a very young age, this was a hobby, this was a passion, etc. But it was different for you, right? I mean, it wasn't that progression in that way. So let's talk about that next, man. Like, how did this start? Like, how did you get started writing, and why was it a later progression, right? Why did it happen later on in life? Just tell us a little bit more about that progression for you.
I had never written a creative word before an experience I had at 22. In the bedroom in my folks' house, and in every room in my folks' house was a yellow pad and a pen. My dad was obsessed with yellow pads and pens. To me, it was decorative. It was always there. I never picked it up. I do recall reading a Tom Swift book early on, but no, I was not a big reader. I recall liking to look at the World Book encyclopedias and the transparencies of the medical stuff. I thought that was fascinating, and my parents were so excited. He's going to be a doctor. Well, that didn't pan out. But one day, I had an experience that changed everything. And that experience was that I was literally thrown to the floor, hit by a thunderbolt from somewhere. And that somewhere was the universe. I passed out for a little while. And when I came to, slowly, I rose, and there was the yellow pad. And I went to the yellow pad, and I started writing very spiritual poetry. And I have never stopped writing since, but the trajectory of what I've been writing has grown, tremendously. But that was the initial start for my writing. And it led to, from poetry to, luckily a couple mentors in my life steered me to prose. Mark, you write prose. You're not a poet. I'm not a poet, but I still consider that really the highest calling. It's very difficult to write good poetry. But that was the start, and it's led to several novels and screenplays, and things turned into artist books. Happened along the way, and that's still my inspiration to this day. I have never lost that inspiration. Can I explain it to you in a way? No, it's just something that I have, and I am very thankful for it, and it's led me on a very adventurous life, and that life led to working in libraries. I wanted to stay around books. M7 is completely about the guardianship of the word, capital W. That's how I look at it. I've worked at several libraries, and all those libraries helped shape the physicalness and the actual job that the person does in M7 come from real life. As much as it's fantastical, much of it is grounded in my experiences in working in libraries.
Love it. Well, I mean, listen, write what you know, right? I love that. And people, listen, I know you do as well. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's bookshop.org. But trust and remember, man, the most important place that you can go to is his personal website, markkatzman.net. Because there's really no other way around it. Like I mentioned, he has so much in store. Trust me, you're really going to want to check it out, okay? Now, Mark, let's dive into the book, right? I mean, again, there's a lot of other things that we're going to be touching up on today, but it's probably good to get a brief synopsis on it, right? Start there. But now, man, listen, tell us more about your fantastic novel, M7.
The initial inspiration came from a vision of uh, a man walking on a lone road with tattered boots. And that's how it started. And that man, arrives. You don't know his backstory till way deep in the novel. You're going to have to really go through the novel to find out where he's coming from on the road. And that's part of the mystery of it. And it's part of also a very unusual ending to the story, which is when you really actually find out for real and see what happened to him. It's that's the way it came to me. I don't outline these things. It happens. It happens and takes its natural course. The main thing I do is hold on and follow it. And everything, all my novels are written by hand. M7 took 10 years off and on, working full-time jobs. So when I talk to young writers who think, instantly they're going to write a book and I don't know, be discovered and whatnot. You got to go through, what did Mailer say, a million words before you get to a certain place. Even after that experience at 22, it took 15 years of exploration for me to reach my voice. Which was not M7. There's novels before then. But it took that long. And then I locked in, and it's all the pre-work. And I do believe that my young experience with psychedelics, and not many, but those experiences led to an opening to me to where the universe came to me and gave me my assignment. I'm on the assignment still.
Mark, listen, man, I think that's a great segue, right? Because you just introduced psychedelics into the conversation, and I wanna tackle that next, okay? Because listen, when we talk about psychedelics in the psychedelic arena, there's always a stigma around it, right? And listen, I'm not here to necessarily argue one way or the other, although I will say, I personally believe that's wrong, right? I believe that's the wrong approach because, again, my personal opinion, I believe that there's a lot, right? I think there's a lot that can be very liberating in a sense with regards to it. Now, as we transition from M7, in which, like I said at the top of the show, I comically categorized it as an acid trip in literary form, let's go deeper into that psychedelic space. Tell us a little bit more about your experience and the connection to that space in the way that you see it.
Well, my less than a handful of experiences were at like 18, 19. And in those days, there was no talk of now what we talk about, of integration, of set and setting, and what's going to happen to you and where your head is at about things you want to work through. And so those are my early experiences, strictly what we call recreational now. Personally, I don't think there's any recreational use. I think psychedelics are a powerful tool to work with a myriad numbers of things that people have, traumas, the PTSD, alcoholism, depression. We know this. Every day there are more studies coming out. And this has really interested me later to be part of that movement. And so I did have the opportunity to go to the Psychedelic Science Conference in Denver in June and be a part of, the scene. And that was a night a first night of the conference was celebrating the work of Alexander and Anne Shulgin. He was the underground chemist who rediscovered MDMA and went on to do wonderful things with experimental studies and speak all around the world. I was hired and had the opportunity to transcribe their papers, which was really an education, for me. Also at that event, Zach Leary was there and spoke. Zach Leary, Timothy Leary's son, has a book out called Your Extraordinary Mind. This is a book for now. And as much as I want to talk about my book, in the psychedelic space, I highly recommend that book for people that are unsure about it. I've talked to numbers of young people. They want to experience these wonders, but they don't know what to do. So what Zach Leary has done is taken what his father did, and I mentioned to him that I'd interviewed his father, because I did get to interview Timothy Leary back in 1967. And his book literally lays out how to think about the psychedelic space very rationally, very calmly and coolly, as opposed to his dad to, turn on, tune in, drop out. No, it's much more complex than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, thank you for that, man. And I know that was something that is particularly important to you. And something else that is also important to you is where I want to transition to next, right? Mark, I want to talk a little bit about artist books now, man. You have some on your website, of course. And again, I know it's something that you are particularly passionate about. So talk to us more about them, right? First and foremost, what are they, right? What are artist books? And tell us about the artist books that you yourself have created.
The concept of an artist book was completely new to me, and I've talked to many artists who have no idea of what an artist book is. They're almost more akin to children's pop-up books in ways, in the whimsicalness generally of them, and so it's putting together a writer and an artist designer to make something at a higher frequency into an artist book. I've seen artist books like cherry pies cut out, and you look at the slices and there's the words, and you put it back. They are plexiglass. They're every shape and form you can imagine, and they're collected in museums and archives. And so I was fortunate in that the first one I published, called Einon, was done by the Nexus Press in Atlanta in 1990. And at that time, there were 3 major artist book presses in the country: New York and Chicago Art Institute. I think it's Printed Matter in New York. And Nexus in Atlanta. It no longer exists, but over time, it is one of the premier credible artist book presses, and I'm still contacted off and on about that. Emory did a special on Nexus Press books, and I do have a good story about one incident. So after it came out, I was in New York at the time, and it was, added to the MoMA collection, and there was an event. So very exciting. Went to the event, and at a pre-event, I got to read it, which is rare. I've only read it once. But at that event, there was my artist scroll under glass, and it opens up very wide. But it was like, you could see this much of it. But under glass, it was next to a William Blake notebook. It was in between a William Blake notebook and a Yoko Ono artist book. So that still blows my mind. And the fact is, William Blake is considered the first artist book artist because he combined his wonderful poetry and his wonderful, spacey, cosmic drawings. So he is considered the father of the modern artist book. It's really a pretty huge genre once you look into it, and that was a a very special night for me, and it still comes around. And I'll say one other thing about Einon, because it's gone so far. That book came to me different than any other thing I've written, and I've written a lot. It literally was transmitted to me over 2 nights in a little notebook, and it's gone the farthest of any of my works. And in an archaic language also that I'd never used before, a shaman story. I have read a lot about shamanism, but it came in this unusual language. And it's never happened since. Not like that, even though my books come in a spontaneous way. Mm-hmm. That process was something. And that's the one that, has been really revered and been in, like I say, been in many shows. So I encourage anyone to type in artist books in your search engine and look them up. Go to the images and look at them. They are fanciful, whimsical, mm-hmm. And serious. It just depends on what the artist and writer. Sometimes it's the same person, of course, but they just raise everything to an unusual pitch, and they're much different than reading a novel or reading a nonfiction book. It's a different experience, altogether. And they're generally in limited editions. Einon was an edition of 350, and the other one along the way was an edition of 50. So they're in limited editions generally, and rarely mine. Every now and then it comes up from a rare book dealer, but they're out of, once they're sold in a lot of private collections too. Mm-hmm. But it is a genre that most people don't know about. So I hope someone might look up artist books and find a world that they have not been aware of before.
Well, listen, I have no doubt that you just inspired a number of individuals to find artist books, right? To learn a little bit more about them and possibly even create their own. But people, remember, it all starts with M7, all right? That's where everything begins. So one last time, remember markkatzman.net, bookshop.org, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, man, just search it. It starts there, but I promise you it doesn't end there, okay? And be careful. Because just a fair warning, you may never be able to walk into a library or, God forbid, even look at punctuation or grammar in the same way again because of this book. Mark, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. A true honor, and I really do mean that. Keep up the fantastic work. This has been a wonderful roller coaster ride. And listen, we would love to have you back on again at any time in the future. But for the time being, thank you for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Yeah. Thank you, Benji.